During my 8 years living in Germany, I was lucky enough to visit some truly incredible places, but one of my favourite destinations by far was the Rhineland region. Located in southwest Germany, this unbelievably beautiful region is an absolute must for wine, history and nature lovers. In just 1 week, you can experience two of the most spectacular areas, the Moselle Valley and the upper middle Rhine Valley. You'll see vineyard-covered hills, medieval towns, ancient Roman ruins, castle-topped cliffs, go on river cruises and of course, try plenty of exceptional local wine. I'm the Curious Sparrow and this is how to spend one unforgettable week in Germany's Rhineland. Your journey begins in the Moselle Valley, which is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful parts of Germany. There are endless pretty towns to stay in here, but for this itinerary I suggest Bernkastel-Kues, a picture-perfect wine town set along the winding Moselle River. It's an ideal base for exploring the surrounding area, especially if you're travelling by car. This is by far the easiest way to get around, though it is possible to use public transport. I've linked my full blog itinerary with transport tips, hotel suggestions and food recommendations in the description below. Depending on when you arrive, spend your first day simply soaking up the atmosphere in Bernkastel-Kues. The town is actually split in two by the river, with Kues on one side and Bernkastel on the other. While both sides are lovely in their own right, Bernkastel is the main attraction for visitors. In addition to the hilltop ruins of the 13th century Landshut castle, you'll find the ridiculously cute and photogenic old town. Although it's relatively small, there's a good amount to see here, especially if you love that old-timey German aesthetic, and who doesn't? It feels straight out of a fairy tale with narrow cobbled streets, cute shops and half-timbered houses. For me, the star of the show is the marketplace, which is a tightly enclosed medieval square surrounded by beautifully preserved 17th century buildings. It is one of the prettiest squares I've seen anywhere in Germany, and believe me, I've seen a lot over the years. The old town is also the perfect place to stop for lunch, whether that's for a hearty German meal or some coffee and cake, a classic German pastime. In the late afternoon, take advantage of being in Germany's premier wine-producing region by doing some wine tastings. The Moselle is famous for its crisp Rieslings, and there are plenty of wine bars in town where you can sample them. For something a little more special, head to the Dr. Luzern wine estate, which is just a short walk from town. Dr. Luzern is one of the most well-known producers in the area, and its winery offers tastings where you can try several glasses of their wonderful wine and learn about their production. Sitting outside enjoying some top quality wine on a warm afternoon surrounded by gorgeous scenery was exactly what I envisioned the Rhineland to be like. As the evening draws in, explore the Kues part of town and go for a short hike through the vineyards behind it. Here you can see grapes used by different nearby wineries, and the views over the river and rooftops are especially beautiful at sunset. On day 2, head out for a day trip to Trier, Germany's oldest city. Founded by the Romans in the late 1st century BC, this beautiful historic city is an absolute treasure trove of ancient Roman ruins and charming market squares. Even the hour-long drive there is part of the experience, with vineyard-covered hills and several scenic viewpoints along the way. One of the best overlooks is near Peaceport, where you get sweeping views over the river and surrounding hills. Once you arrive in Trier and manage to find a parking space, head toward the city centre. Begin with its most famous landmark, Porta Nigra, an ancient Roman city gate. It's astonishingly well preserved and one of the most impressive Roman structures north of the Alps. You can pay to go inside or simply admire this architectural wonder from the outside. From there, make your way to the Hauptmarkt, the lively main square. Check out some interesting historical sites here like the 16th century St. Peter's Fountain, the Gothic St. Gangolf's Church and the oldest market cross in Germany. After having lunch, head to St. Peter Cathedral, the oldest in Germany. While it's striking from the outside, just wait until you see inside. There are so many beautiful decorations and ornate carvings, and I'm a particular fan of the magnificent organ. Nearby, you can visit the Constantine Basilica, a Roman structure originally built as Emperor Constantine's audience hall. Although it may seem somewhat bare inside, it is an impressive structure considering it's 1700 years old. If you have time and want to see more ancient Roman ruins, check out the Imperial Baths or make your way to the Trier Amphitheatre. Otherwise, take a relaxing stroll through the garden behind the Electoral Palace before driving back to Bernkastel-Kues. Spend the rest of your evening unwinding, ideally with a glass of wine. Several wineries stay open later, including Weingut Tarnisch, a lovely little estate right on the riverbank in Kues. Here you can settle into the outdoor seating area and enjoy your drink while taking in the views across the Bernkastel and the hilltop castle. Your final day in the Moselle Valley is all about castles. Start with a morning trip to Manderscheid, a small spa town surrounded by thick forest and home to two atmospheric and crumbling castle ruins. The larger fortress, Manderscheid, dates back to the 12th century and is fantastic to explore, with towers, stone passageways and old wine cellar to be discovered. A short woodland hike then takes you to the upper castle, where you get great views over the valley. After you're finished here, hop back in your car and drive about 45 minutes to Cochem, one of the Moselle's most iconic towns. People come here in droves to wander through Cochem's ridiculously pretty streets, lined with half-timbered houses, centuries-old beer halls and quaint cafes. Towering above it all is Reichsberg Castle. This imposing Gothic castle, perched atop a hill surrounded by vineyards, is one of the most famous landmarks in the Moselle Valley. You can buy a ticket to visit parts of the castle, or simply walk up for the views, which are absolutely worth it. Cochem is also a great place for a scenic river cruise on the Moselle. We had other cruises planned for our trip, so we just enjoy sitting by the river watching the boats pass. Still, if you have time, then definitely go for it. Afterwards, head back to Bernkastel-Kues for one final evening in the valley. On day 4, you'll say Auf Wiedersehen to the Moselle and head to the UNESCO-listed Upper Middle Rhine Valley. Known as the Romantic Rhine, this is an absolutely gorgeous part of the country, with rolling green hills, steep vineyards, well-preserved castles and fortresses, and an abundance of cute little riverside towns. For the next few days, I recommend staying in Rüdesheim and Rhein, about a 2-hour drive from Bernkastel. It's the perfect base for river cruises, castle visits, and naturally, more local wine. Spend your first day here exploring the beautiful old town at a leisurely pace. Rüdesheim is slightly more built up and geared toward tourists, but it still has plenty of charm. One of the most famous streets is Drosselgasse, a narrow lane lined with traditional taverns and timber frame buildings, which reminded me of Harry Potter's Diagon Alley. Check out historical landmarks like St. Jacobus Church, which dates back to the 11th century, and Bronzeberg, one of the oldest castles in the Rhine Gorge. Make sure to nip into one of the many traditional cafes here and look out for the Rüdensheimer Café, a local speciality made with coffee, brandy, whipped cream and chocolate flakes. It's a delightfully boozy treat. After you're done exploring, take a ride on the Rüdesheim cable car up to Niederwald Park. It's a little expensive at €12 for a return ticket, but we really enjoyed the journey. The views you get are lovely and it's incredibly peaceful hovering over the vineyards. There are a few sites up here, as well as forest trails, but the star of the show is the Niederwald Monument, an impressive 38-metre structure built to commemorate the unification of Germany. You can either return to town by cable car or do what we did and hike back to the town centre through the countryside. It's an easy downhill walk and incredibly picturesque. If you aren't up for the cable car ride or hike, don't worry, as you can also head up the hill on the Rüdesheim-Windsor Express. This adorable little train tour takes you through some vineyards, up to the Niederwald Monument, and to some other spots including St. Hildegard's Abbey. Later on, find somewhere to enjoy some local wine. There are lots of places to choose from here, but for something fun and different, head to Weinwelt. This unique store has 8 large rooms, each of them with vending machines filled with wine. Simply buy some tokens, select the wine that you'd like to sample, press the button, and it will dispense a tasting measure for you. On day 5, book yourself onto a boat trip along the Rhine River. It's one of the best activities you can do here, and it's well worth the ticket price. There are several cruises to choose from, offering different distances and stop-off points, but I suggest taking a longer trip up to the small town of St. Goar. The journey takes around 2 hours and passes through the most scenic and dramatic sections of the Rhine Gorge. Grab a table on the deck and sit back and enjoy the stunning views, listening to a somewhat audible loudspeaker, which is in German and English. Along the way, you'll glide past cliffside castles, vineyard-covered slopes, grand estates, and the legendary Lorelei Rock. This is one of the narrowest parts of the Rhine River, where many ships have crashed and sunk over the centuries. Once you reach Goar, spend some time exploring the town before heading up to the main attraction, Rheinfels Castle. Dating back to the 13th century, it was once one of the largest and most powerful castles along the Rhine. While technically now in ruin, this mighty fortress is still incredibly impressive. There's lots to see here, including the largest self-supporting vaulted cell in Europe, and the views from the castle walls are wonderful. Afterwards, either return to Rüdesheim by boat, or take the scenic 30-minute train ride. This will require crossing over the river to Goarhausen train station. On your final full day, visit Burg Reichenstein, one of the most remarkable castles in the Rhine Valley. Unlike the ruins you visited earlier, this castle has had a fabulous makeover. During the 19th century Romantic era, many castles along the Rhine River were bought by wealthy individuals who had them restored to preserve them and, in all likelihood, show off how rich they were. There are numerous examples of these throughout the Rhine Valley, but Burg Reichenstein is one of the most magnificent. Tickets allow visitors to wander through the beautiful private grounds, admire the panoramic views from the well-preserved ramparts, and discover the inside of the castle. You'll find furnished rooms, armour, weapons, centuries-old furniture, decorative antiques, and a slightly disturbing number of deer antlers from around the world. There is also an excellent audio guide included in the price, which has some fun voice actors playing the roles of former residents. Expect to spend a good couple of hours here. Back in Rüdesheim, spend your final evening however you like, perhaps a relaxing walk through the vineyards of St. Hildegard's Abbey, or simply a lovely dinner with a glass of local Riesling. On your final morning, enjoy one last leisurely breakfast before doing some last-minute sightseeing or shopping that you need to do, like stocking up on some crates of wine. If you're flying from Frankfurt Airport, it's just 45 minutes away by car or an hour and a half by train. So there you have it, one unforgettable week exploring Germany's Rhineland, from the vineyards of the Moselle to the castles of the Romantic Rhine. It really is a wonderful part of the country and the perfect spot for a relaxing break. If you're planning a trip to Germany, you can find other guides on my blog, linked in the description box below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe for more travel tips and inspiration.